Hello and welcome to my video. Now, what I'm going to do today, well, I'm going to do two things actually. First thing I'm going to do is a portrait from my imagination, and the second thing I'm going to do, no, there are three things. Portrait, then I'm going to wipe it off, and then I'm going to paint a landscape on this extremely big canvas that I've got here. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I want to paint a landscape, and secondly because the canvas has got so many paintings underneath it, it'll show you how you can repurpose a canvas and not worry about any bumps that might be on it. And there are bumps. So the colours I'm using for this are in fact red ochre and Payne's grey, and I'm using a bit of linseed oil. I might use a bit of white, but if I do that, it'll be just before I wipe the whole thing off. Of course, if I really like it, maybe I won't wipe it off. But anyway, so I'm going to work in this area here. I'm quite close into the canvas, so hopefully I won't be getting in the way. How many times have I said that? So let me just make some marks here. I've got a pencil mark as a guide. So that will be the top of the painting there. I think you can see that. That will be the bottom, approximately there. Maybe not that one. I think maybe there. Something like that. Can you see that? I hope so. Maybe you can't. Just because I'm looking at the viewfinder. Okay, it's going to be a bit higher. It's going to be about there, I think. Okay. So it's just, as I said, an imaginary portrait, and I'll try and get it in that shape there, something like that. Anyway, so as I said, Payne's grey, red ochre, and let's just see what happens. You may, I don't know whether you can see, but there are bumps on this, some serious bumps. So let me just see what we can do. Let's have a head coming down here, bit of structure there, and I think here, top of the nose. Believe it or not, that's the top of the nose. If you're a natural portraitist, a lot of this will become sort of obvious, because you have to paint eye sockets. You've got to convince the viewer that this thing, whatever you're doing, actually has a skull. So let's have a little bit of dark here, and I think something under the eye for later, and just a little bit of shading there, shading here. Quite a big nose. The reason I'm painting a sort of old man type face is dead simple. It's easier than painting a pretty face, because you can go so many ways on it without actually causing a disaster. So let's have a little bit of shadow around the nostril. Let's have a bit of a nostril there, I think. Over here is going to be the eye. There's a thing in thing that I think a lot of artists, a lot of painters dread. That's what's called painting the second eye. You can paint an eye and it can look really good, but then you've got to make the second eye look as though it vaguely relates to it. And by relates, I mean, does it look as though it actually is on a person? You know, does it look like the same person? I may not have an ear over there, I don't know yet. We'll see how it goes. There's a moustache coming down here, lots of shadow down there, and the beard. I'll zoom out a little bit later so you can see it in its entirety when I've finished. Looks very cross at the moment, doesn't he? So let's just chuck on some paint, a little bit of shadow here. Let's start to make the nose look more like a nose. So I'm using quite a dry brush. Most of the paint has gone off this brush now, and so any marks that I make are going to be tones. this is more like, it's more like drawing. I suppose it is really. Okay, had enough of that brush. Let's use a big one. I much prefer working with bigger brushes. So let's get some tone up there. And cheekbones, temple. I'm going to do the ear. I think it's going to have long hair, and it will sort of look greyish and lighter by the time I finished. Let's have some light down the side of the nose. It looks like I'm destroying what I've already done, and in fact in some ways I am, but when I've put a mark on I sort of know where to put, roughly, hope so anyway. On a good day I know where to put the next mark. So I think it's something to do with muscle memory. Let's have some tone there, and a little bit more down there. And I think for later I'm going to have a little bit of dark down there. Yeah, I've obviously got to put a bit of dark on because I'm going to put some light on it, and the light won't show until I put on the dark. So before we get too far in this now, I'm going to start to consider two things. One is, am I a portrait painter still? I used to do hundreds of these things. Or am I a landscape painter who's trying to prove something? I don't know. We'll see. So let's get some tones. There are lots of ways of starting portraits. This just happens to be my way. That's a very sullen and rather evil looking eye we've got there. I'm going to just sort of get rid of that effect. I think we'll just take the bottom eyelid up, connect the pupil, put a bit more shadow in there. I'm not after pretty. And I'm sure there are people saying, well, you've certainly achieved that. Never been into pretty paintings. Anyway, I hope this has a little bit of something by the time I finished anyway. It won't yet, obviously. There are very few people who can start a painting and make it look wonderful early on. I think if you really want to see portraiture, go and look at Vladimir Volkov. I'll put his name on the screen. He's one of the best painters alive, I think. He just does everything right, just knows exactly where to put each colour. And I don't know whether it's because of my graphic art influence in my life, but I do like strong contrasts. Let's have some light down that nose. A little bit of light there. You wouldn't want to mess with him, would you? Tough looking character, very sinister looking character. Right, I think I want some more darkness in there to break that light coming across here. You can probably see already why I prefer landscapes. I've always preferred landscape. So all this darkness I'm putting in the eye here, I mean, it looks like, you know, he's got no eye, but there will be an eye. It'll turn up. Let's get this beard thing looking more beardy. Let's have it sticking out that way. That's good. Looks like slightly cavemanish look. Try and resolve a few of these shadows here. Let's get some shade there, a little bit here. Right, I don't think I like that light there, and I think that slightly monobrow look needs to go. Just need a bit of light over the eye. Okay, this is worse than hideous. Get some roundness into the shape. Take away a little bit there. Right, something needs doing down here. I think I need to get a large rag out and start destroying this before I lose my reputation for being a reasonable painter. Let's see, anything I can do to retrieve what I've done here. Let's just see. There we are. A little bit of a beak. Okay. Tone coming down there. Not so keen on that nose yet. Anyway, as I was saying, I've done hundreds of portraits in my time, but for the last, God knows how many years, I don't know, I've concentrated on landscape, and to be a good portrait painter, you've got to stay on the game, and I possibly have left it a little bit too long. What can I do over here? Let's just put some flatter tone there and get a bit more of a brow. I think something there. A little bit of tone there. And I need to get the shadow coming down his face, the light sort of coming down there. So I need to make this look as though it's connected, and I need more light here, and I need something there. Not really sure what. Looks slightly aboriginal. The thing is with this sort of thing, well, with me anyway, is you never quite know what will come, because it's all in your head. I think we have to have some light there on the skin tone. Point the camera down in a minute. I just want to try and make the eye look less aggressive. So what shall I do? I think a little bit of light on the top eyelid there, and then I think light on the bottom eyelid and down that way. Okay, well, maybe it will turn into something passable. As I said, and I will keep saying, I don't consider myself a portrait painter anymore. At one time, yes, but I think I'm so indoctrinated now, possibly brainwashed myself into just painting landscape. Let's see what else I can do with this eye. sort of looking a bit more eye-like, a bit more light on the bottom lid. This is possibly the last portrait I'll ever paint, I think. For me, it just doesn't feel fulfilling enough. There aren't enough clouds, and I do like clouds. Okay, so touch more light there. It may come to life a bit when I stick the beard on. I think I will. I wasn't actually planning on doing that, if you know what I mean. I was just going to wipe away paint to get the light areas, but I don't think I want to do it. I'm going to try and go for a quick effect. I just need to do something with a very small brush on the eye. I want to put a little bit of dark there. A little bit more Payne's grey. As you can see, the colour is it's a sort of browny, greyish, dark sort of colour. What I'm doing here is I'm using my small finger just to touch the canvas. Oh, by the way, this is also an unusual one for me, because this is on canvas. I've been painting on board for a few years now. So I think I should have a bit of a eyelash and then darken in there quite a lot, and then just pull that down so that there isn't a white line touching the nose. Yep, I think this guy needs to see a doctor. He's obviously got bashed in the eye there. What should I do? I think I'll raise that a little bit, and I think I will lower. Just going to take that down there so that this becomes a little bit better structured, and I'm going to just pull away some of that light above there, pull that across, make that come out a bit more. In other words, his cheekbone, or the bag under his eye maybe, could be that. Not over happy with the nose yet, which I have to say is one of the reasons why I stopped painting portraits, is because noses are tricky. If someone wants their portrait painted, you have to come to an agreement that you paint what you see. And the amount of times people will say, "Oh no, my nose is nowhere near that size. Can you alter it?" And I got to the stage where I would say to people, "Well, I can if you like, but I won't be signing the painting, because it's going to start to become your painting if you're going to be asking that sort of, or giving me that kind of instruction in your painting." So bear that in mind. So what have we got? We got a little bit of bone. A little bit of bone looking okay with some skin on it. And I think we're going to make more of the nose. I'm going to put it round there, like so. And then I think a bit of an angle down, then up, like so, with some dark, a little bit of dark, if I can just get some Payne's grey. And I'm going to put that under here as a really dark shadow under the nose. Maybe too dark. But then again, I can also add a bit up here, so that might key it in a bit better. Just a few shadows in there. Let's have a little bit more intensity there. So it's almost, as I said a little bit earlier, this is painting, obviously, but it's the drawing stage of painting, and without using a pencil. Let's have some shadow there, I think. In fact, I think I want it more intense. In fact, let's have. Try and do this without banging my hand all over it. Probably easier for it to look at. Not happy with that distant eye yet. Probably needs way more contrast in there. So I might not even bother. It's sort of okay-ish, I suppose. I have to say, I've done better. I'm sure you'd like me to be honest when I'm producing a video like this. Let's have lots of darks in here because I'm going to put some white on. So for eyebrows and the beard, so it'll change the colour of the beard somewhat. It won't be perfect white. It'll just be a lighter version of what you see there, and a little bit more bag under the eye there. Hope the sound's coming over okay. I'm a little bit allergy-ish at the moment, but that's the way it goes. So let's just do some smudging. Few. Okay. This, as I said a minute ago, this is the last portrait I'm ever going to paint, frankly. It's an interesting little exercise. I don't actually get much fun out of doing them because it just isn't me anymore. A bit of light on the top of the nose, and it'll be interesting to see what reaction I get from the video. Some people may like it, you never know. But what I'm trying to do is show you how you can do stuff using this method that I use for my landscapes, just putting on brown, taking off, that sort of thing. And you can, it's a quick effect. Yeah, it definitely looks like a nose that's been thumped a few times. Let's get a bit more light just there. So it's one of these things also where you can sort of tickle at it a bit, just to see what transpires. I mean, I'm going to leave that eye, I think. That's just as far as that's going to go. Let's just pull the moustache around here a bit. And I think we definitely need a little bit more shadow down there, and that will contrast nicely against the beard and moustache which I'm going to put in, which will probably completely ruin the whole thing. Hey ho, there you are. I think I'm going to put some tone over here, and there is a reason for that, so that when I put the white on there'll be something for it to work against. So let's have a little bit of dark behind this chap's head. I hope I'm keeping out of the way. Just something to contrast his head against, but not a vast amount. Okay, just a quick look in the camera, good. So we'll have just a neutral tone. This is really a very big canvas, as you'll see in a minute when I put a real painting on it. You have to bear in mind with this painting, I'm not particularly trying to impress anyone, and I'm sure I won't. But I just want to give you a bit of confidence, you know. It's just I'll put some of my portraits on the screen just to show you what I have done. I think it's dark there. You know, when I was a real painter of faces, quite a few years ago. But so don't unsubscribe just yet. Oh dear, you never know. Okay, so there we are. A little bit more tone in here. I'll sort of try to resolve that a little bit better in a moment with a piece of paper. He started out looking like a complete brute, and he's got a little bit of a more pleasant expression on his face now. I'm going to just move the camera a little bit so you can see the bottom part. I hope I'm going to move the camera. There we go. And I'm going to put in a little bit of white in a few places just to see what sort of effect I can get. I might use the same brush I started out with, but before I do that I just want to push a bit more of that in there. Let's put the furthest part of his face maybe into a bit more shadow. Okay, so this brush, I'm painting with brushes today. This brush is almost completely dry of paint, so I'm just putting on a slight stain down through there, keeping the tip of the nose reasonably dark so that it shows against this tone, and then we'll take that across there and down here. Okay, so you can see that there's a little bit of white left on the edge there. I'm completely not concerned about that, and because it's easy to hide that later. I just want to do a little bit more on this eye. There's something I'm not happy about, and I'm sure that that's pretty obvious. I think he certainly should have a bit more of a hint of some kind of eyelash type structure over here. It's just an impression, really. I mean, all I've done at the moment now is just make excuses about how I'm not a portrait painter anymore, because I sort of feel uncomfortable with it. They can be fun, but I think not the sort of fun I would go looking for. Okay, that's one heck of a nose he's got there. Let's pull a little bit of light up his side of his nose there. Take that down and then just mute everything in there. Noses are notoriously tricky. Not everybody might find them tricky, of course. I mean, some people just bang out noses in a few seconds, and I think a bit more shadow just under there. Right. Sure, the nose is probably going the wrong way a little bit. I think I should have definitely changed its course slightly, and a bit more shadow in there. It's funny, just a brush mark can change the expression on a face just one mark slightly out of place can be a total game changer. Or maybe a brush mark that's in the correct place. Okay, let's just a little bit of moulding around there. Okay, now, yeah, I won't be giving up the day job of painting landscapes. I hope this satisfies the people who want to see a face. Let's just get some brush marks. I mean, does he have to have a white beard? I think he's at the white beard part of his life. So he will have one. It won't be completely white, obviously, because of all this muddy paint I've got on here. But anyway, this is a one way of possibly getting into portrait painting. I'm almost a bit nervous to add the white, but I'm going to do it anyway, because if it goes wrong, you won't see this video anyway. Now, here's a thought. I could try it with this. I've got one of these, a fan brush, and I'm thinking to myself, how would that work? I mean, it may be okay, it may be a total disaster, but there's only one way to find out, really. So I'm not adding a lot of oil to this, just a few drops. So I've got white. This could just destroy the whole thing. I wonder what's going to happen here. Okay, so let's say he's got some moustache coming down here. Well, I suppose, why not? And let's pull it right out. Let's give him I'll tell you what, I'll consider it like a landscape. In other words, it's going to need some contrasts. So, contrasts it shall have. And one thing I will do as I work through this is the brush has obviously picked up this brown colour, so I'm going to just clean the tips of the bristles. As usual, no turpentine, no thinners, just a wipe. Now, this is where it may get tricky. So let's have a little bit of extra contrast on there, where the light is coming down, possibly from that way. And I think, let's see, I mean, eyebrows. Be a bit careful with eyebrows. They can look a bit Groucho Marx-ish if you go the wrong way. You don't want to go too far. I wonder who this person is. When I do these when I do these imaginary portraits, I haven't done many. I mean, my entire life probably about, I don't know, 10. There's always this basic sort of character who comes up. Let's have a few hairs going up that way. Looks like some kind of wizard. And then using this again, you see, you can sort of twirl this as you work down the painting. You sort of twirl it around a bit to get the effect that you want. So you can have grey hair, and I'll add white sort of highlights a bit later. So what should we do now? I think the beard has to come from there. Let's take it up his face a bit. Makes me realise why John Constable, whom I refer to often, avoided painting portraits. I think at one point in his life he did paint quite a few because he had to. Nobody was buying landscapes, and landscapes were frowned upon as being sort of a bit too easy to do. That's debatable, of course. But as soon as he could, as soon as portraits started, landscapes really started to gain popularity, he ditched portraiture and basically painted only landscapes. Let me think, what should I do? Okay, I think it needs something in here. Let's bring that around there. The only thing with these brushes, when you have a lot of paint on them, they do sort of segregate into clumps. So you have to sort of, that's why I'm twirling it like this occasionally, because it joins them together. Right. Now the only other thing, because I'm keeping this bit brief, I hope it's brief, I might even have sped up the beginning because it looks so awful. Maybe not, I don't know. In a moment, this is going to be wiped off. I'll photograph it for posterity. Or just to remind myself that I'm not a portrait painter. So it's like catching over there, I think. Okay, and a bit more. A bit more there. And then definitely some, as the hair comes out of his skin, that's going to be a little bit of a bend, so there's going to be a little bit of a highlight on that, I suppose. It's interesting when you do this, because you know, I'm not looking at a picture. This is obviously just in my head, and you have to sort of just recall what you've seen and how light falls on faces, because it's the same as a landscape. It's just it's a facescape, I suppose. I think there should be a little bit of light catching there. I don't know. Do I upload the video or do I run to the hills and hide? I don't know. Just a little bit of, it's a little bit aggressive. Let's just calm that down just a little bit. Okay, that's one heck of a beard, isn't it? Okay, now, I'm sure there was something else I was thinking of doing, but maybe I should just stop while it looks presentable. So I think that's all the painting I'll do on it. The only other thing I'm going to do is just a little bit of scumbling. Now, I could use my hand. I'll try it and see what happens in here, just to sort of clean that up a little bit. Right. Well, I think that's as far as I'm going to go, considering everything. and in a moment I'll get rid of that and paint a landscape. So I'll zoom back to give you an idea of how small it, well, it's not that small, and so you can just see it from a bit of a distance. Just excuse the rocking in the camera. So you can see it's a big canvas, obviously. Well, I hope you can. Let me just move the canvas that way and that way. So there you are. You can see, excuse the movement of the camera again. That's how big he is compared to my hand. So, okay, before I sign off on this one, I'd just like to explain what I was on about at the beginning of the video. I was going to wipe this off and then just paint a quick landscape covering the entire canvas, which is very big. However, just as I'd finished this, I went to the kitchen to eat something. I lifted a tray of something to put in the fridge, and obviously was poised in the wrong position, and I managed to squash a disc in my back, which meant that after the screaming subsided, the last thing I wanted to do was lift a paintbrush. So there we are. I will paint a landscape again soon. I hope this has been useful to some of you. It's taught me a few things. One is that I may not do any more portraits. I think I'll just stick to landscapes, but I did this because so many people asked me to do it. So I'll see you on the next video. It'll be probably a couple of days more before I can even contemplate painting a large landscape, but I'll have a go, and I'll see you on the next video. So take care. Bye for now.